Hello friends, my name is Ramasu. Today we shall discuss about topic the control procurement process. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in project management or you are planning to give exam or PMP in near future. So let's start. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my videos can reach to you. So friend, control procurement. First of all, we have to understand that what is basically procurement. Procurement means that whenever we as a company, for example, we have to purchase some goods for a project. So we have to purchase the goods and services from a buyer. So whenever we are talking about procurement, basically we are talking about two parties, seller and buyer. Seller is the person who is selling the goods and services, and the buyer is the person who is buying the goods and services. So basically procurement means that you are you are being a project manager, being a company, you are purchasing any goods and services from the seller. Okay, now when we talk about control procurement, so control procurement means that you are managing or controlling the procurement. Okay, for example, you are buying some hardware from a vendor. Now you have to make some contract, you have to make some documentation that what is the cost, what is the requirement, how will you purchase the goods and services from the seller. So you are controlling the purchasing of goods and services. So that means that you have to make a contract, you have to make a process that how will you monitor and control the procurement. You have to check that whether the performance of the vendor is good or not, whether whatever you are purchasing the goods and services, these are as per the requirement or not. Okay, so that is basically the concept of control procurement, and control procurement is the third process of knowledge area of procurement as per the PMBOK guide. So as per the PMBOK guide, every process of project management has some inputs, like it will take some input from some few things, and there are some tools to process the input, and there are the output of that process. Okay, now if you can understand that what is the basic concept of control procurement, so first thing is the project management plan as a input. Now we are talking about inputs for this process. When we talk about project management plan, remember that project management plan as per the project management concept is not simply one document. It is basically combination of many documents, like for example requirement management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan, change management plan, schedule baselines, etc. So basically it is a combination of multiple projects, multiple documents, that basically that how will you manage the project. Okay, so in that project management plan, the very important document is the procurement management plan, that how will you manage the purchasing of goods and services for a project. Then project document is another very important input for this process. A project document means that the assumption log, the other documents which you are making for project here. Then agreements means the contracting between the buyer and seller. Remember, whenever we are talking about procurement, there are two parties are very important, seller and a buyer. Seller is the person who is selling the goods and services, and buyer who is buying the goods and services. Then procurement documentation, again important documents like contracting, any specifications for the procurements for goods and services. Approved change request. Approved change request means, friend, that if you have make some documentation already, for example you make the contract, now you realize that there are some few changes are required in the contract. So approved change request means the change requests which have been approved from the change control board. Then enterprise environmental factor. Enterprise environmental factor means the organization's culture, environment, what is the culture, what is the environment in the organization, how they manage the procurement. Normally, for example, let's suppose the as per their organization, they take 1 month for the process of the procurement. They have some, they are using any particular software for the procurement, etc. So basically, whenever we talk about enterprise environmental factor, we are talking about the culture of an organization. Then work performance data, that means the performance of the seller, of the vendor who is providing you the goods and services. Organizational process asset is another input. Organizational process assets means the assets, important documents which already made. For example, in the past we have already worked for that particular vendor, for example. So the performance of that vendor, we have already some documents through which we can know how about what is the performance of that vendor. Okay, any estimates we have already about in the past for this type of procurement. Okay, so all these sorts of documents, a scope document, procurement document, etc., the organization has already these types of document. Okay, so these are the organizational process assets. Now just focus on these three terms: organizational, process, assets. Assets means the documents which we have already made, like procurement management plan, estimate cost estimates, the vendor performance, etc. So all these are the assets for an organization. Now the tools which we used for this process. Now see, we have already taken the input. Okay, as per the PMBOK guide, we have already taken the inputs. Now we are using the tools to process that input information. Okay, so that is why there is a concept of tool here. Now we are processing the information. We have the input and now we are processing. Now for tools, the first one is the expert judgment. Expert judgment means that you talk with some experts of that organization, of that particular domain. For example, you are purchasing any hardware, for example any computer hardware. So that particular domain expert, you will talk about it, like what is the specification is required, what will be the cost, and how will you so any particular consultant, technical consultant, is very important, and his opinion, his expert judgment, expert opinion is very important here. Then claim administration. Claim administration means that, friend, like few things which are not settled between the buyer and the seller, that is called as claim. For example, the vendor is saying that he has provided the goods as per the requirement, and the buyer is saying that goods are not as per the requirement. So these are the disputes between the buyer and the seller. So how will you settle those disputes or conflicts if they occur? So there should be some third party, there should be some procedure or process through which you can manage the claim or dispute between the buyer and the seller. Data analysis. Data analysis means whatever the data is generating, you must have to be able to analyze it. You must have to analyze the particular data. Then inspection. Inspection is very important tool. That means whatever the procurement is doing, whatever the goods and services you are receiving, you must have to inspect it. Inspect means that like for example, you are purchasing the hardware. Is it as per the requirement? Is it as per the specification? Is it as per the scope of the project or not? Is it fulfilling the requirement or not? So that is called as inspection. Then audit. Audit means the third party audit. Third party audit means the beyond the organization, any third party will come and audit the procurement. For example, if there is any, I mean to say that any illegal act is there or not, like for example any bribe is there or not, like the procurement, whatever the procurement is done is as per the rules and regulation, there is no such bribe occur, there is no such illegal act occur, except there the procurement is as per the requirement, and it is very transparent, the contracting was transparent, there is no favorism was done. So that is basically third party involved in just to check all these things. So these are the tools for the control procurement. Now the output of this process. First one is the closed procurement. Closed procurement means that now we are talking about output of this process. Okay, so closed procurement means that once all the procurement is done, you will close the procurement. Close means that you are closing the contract, you are closing the task, that okay, we have received successfully the goods and services and it is as per the requirement, so now we are closing the procurement. It is one output of that. Then work performance information. Work performance information means that basically you are judging, you are giving feedback about the seller information. Okay, you are giving feedback about the performance of the seller, that whether the seller is as per the requirement, he has provided the goods and services as per the requirement or not. So work performance information, so work related to the procurement is as per the requirement or not. Okay, then procurement documentation update. So procurement documentation means that any contracts, any estimates, any scoping, any planning which was done at the time of procurement, it will be updated here. Then change request. Change request means that the procurement was done as per the requirement. Now at that time when you are closing the project, you realize, or you are closing the procurement, basically you realize that there is some change request. Change request means that if there is a new requirement as per the defined scope of work which was not defined in the signed scope of work, it shall be considered as a change request. Okay, so if for example you have ordered one hardware, okay, now after few months you realize that you need one more additional hardware, okay, as well. So that is called as a change request. So vendor has already provided you the hardware, one hardware, now you realize that you need another second hardware as well. So as per the scope, as per the procurement, you have to raise a change request. Then the another output is the project management plan updates. Project management plan updates means that it will include, like for example, the procurement management plan, like the requirement management plan, the risk management plan, etc. So remember, always remember that whenever we talk about project management plan, we are basically talking about the collection or group of documents, group of plans basically. So all these types of documents will be updated here. Then project document updates, it will be included like the assumption log, the all requirement management plan, etc., requirement document, scope document, procurements, etc. All the documents related to projects can be, which are related to procurement, can be updated here. And in the last, organizational process assets update. Remember, organizational process assets updates means that the documents which pertains to, for example, the performance of the vendor will be updated here. Okay, the lesson learned will be updated here, the estimates will be updated here. Now why we are updating here, it is very important, because if in the future we will do another project similar to that particular procurement, so these assets will be very helpful for the new projects here. Okay, so that is called as the concept of organizational process asset updates. So friend, we have discussed the inputs, tools and outputs for the control procurement. And main concept of control procurement is basically that we are basically controlling the procurement. Controlling means that we are controlling that how we will purchase the goods and services, and if there is any change request is required, if there is any and we are also monitoring the performance of the vendor as well, and we are controlling the whole process of purchasing of goods and services. Wherever it is required to do some changes, wherever it is required to do some take some action, and if all thing goes well, you have to close the procurement at the end of the process. So basically friend, I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with the friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video.